Welcome back to Living Local. So the holidays are a time to see family and friends. We don't get to see that often. Well, some look forward to it. For others, well, it can cause anxiety and stress, and that's because many times there's tension, conflicts, and disagreements that have never been resolved. Well, joining us today to share some tips on how to survive difficult conversations this holiday season is Alexandria Skinner Walsh, owner and licensed mental health counselor with the MAD Therapy. Alexandria, so great to have you here as always.
I'm excited to be here. This is an important
This
one.
is an important topic.
One.
It's a big one as we come up onto the, the holidays, especially Thanksgiving next week. We know we're going to see family and friends, during the holidays that maybe we're not necessarily looking forward to it. Not me personally, never, right? So
somebody else.
someone else. It's all those other people. So how do we prepare for what we think might happen?
I think being able to identify where are your trigger points? Where are the spots that you know are probably going to be difficult for you to manage? Not necessarily impossible, but spots where you might get a little heated, your emotions might run a little high, it might be harder to bite your tongue kind of thing.
Yeah.
And being able to know how are we going to respond, whether that's through boundary statements, through setting boundaries overtly for ourselves, how are we going to respond when those things are hit, so that way we can engage and be proud of the way we show up in those engagements and conversations or family get-togethers, regardless of how pleasant they are or not.
Yes, how pleasant they are. I like that. So if something comes up, is it good to kind of walk away? If something hits that trigger point, if politics come up, for instance?
I think it depends. It depends on, for you, how escalated you get in your emotions, right? We can't control other people. And being able to know when the person we're engaging with is no longer willing to try and understand where we're coming from, it might be worth stepping away. We also have to be mindful of, again, because we have full control over ourselves, we don't have control over somebody else. How are we engaging? Are we able to show up to that conversation in a way that's respectful and courteous and kind, even if we disagree, in a way that we can be proud of? And that opens the door for understanding and connection, which does not necessarily mean agreement. We don't have to agree to understand and connect.
Gotcha. Okay, so since alcohol always seems to be a little more present during the holidays, it can cause people to be, a little less rational. They tend to maybe argue a little bit more.
Yes.
Always wanting to get in that last word. So, is there a way, do we meet that the same way we would meet, if there was no alcohol involved, the conflict?
Absolutely not. So alcohol is so you're going into a family get together situation, there's a topic or conversations that might come up. So there's this already little ember of a little spark that's already lit when you get there. And alcohol is like dosing that spark in gasoline, right? We're no longer able to problem solve in the same way. We're not interpreting social cues as effectively or as authentically as we might in otherwise if we were sober. We're not likely making the decisions that are most aligned with who we are.
Yeah.
So when we're adding alcohol into things, we're probably going to have less healthy conflict. Communication is going to be more difficult. Problem solving is going to be more difficult. And just managing our own emotions is going to be more difficult, which is not necessarily helpful when we're trying to have difficult conversations.
Yeah. So you recommend listening first, right?
Yes.
And then responding. Why is it so important, maybe, not to interrupt? Because I think that's really hard for a lot of people, who have, are very passionate about their opinion.
Absolutely. And not interrupting is incredibly difficult when either we feel like someone is clearly in the wrong and they need to be told that they're wrong, or we're very passionate about something. We feel like we understand something more. It's really hard to wait until we understand what they're saying, especially if we feel so strongly that they're already wrong. But if we're interrupting, we're likely more focused on getting our point across, on being correct, on winning the argument than on understanding. Again, we can understand and not agree, right? My favorite color is pink. I don't really like the color orange. I can sit here and try and understand why your favorite color might be orange. Maybe it's because it makes you think of summer, right?
Yeah.
I still don't like the color orange, right?
Right.
I don't have to agree with you to understand why you might particularly like something or believe something or think something. And being able to understand where you're coming from allows me to connect with you. I don't have to agree with you, but I can speak to what your experiences might be if I understand where they're at.
Gotcha. And you say there are signs that our body and brain are kind of giving to us when we've been pushed too far. What are some of those signs, and what do we do about it?
I would actually argue that your body is going to respond physiologically before your brain catches up. So likely, if you're driving to your family's get together, right, and you notice your heart rate starts increasing, maybe you're getting a little jittery, or your thoughts are starting to swirl, your heat is starting to rise, maybe you're getting cold. Those are all signs that we're starting to get emotionally escalated, right? So being mindful of how your signs manifest, and if they increase more, like once you get there, right?
Yeah.
And being able to do things that are going to help you calm down. Taking a break, either temporarily, exiting early, doing some deep breathing. One of my personal favorites that you can do anywhere is clenching your toes, right? Nobody sees it. So clenching, 10 seconds, count to 10 in your head. Release, 10 seconds. You can even do it all the way up your body. For the most part, it's one that can be pretty easily hidden and nobody would suspect a thing, but it's a way to help calm you down, along with deep breathing or some easy go-to ones that you can do just about anywhere.
Okay, clench your toes.
Yes.
Now, heard that one. All right, I want to try that. I want to try that. Okay, is it a good idea to stay, connected to family and friends when emotions are so strong?
Again, it depends, right? If we can show up to the conversation in a way that's respectful and kind and courteous,
okay,
then yes, right? Because ultimately how we treat other people is a reflection of us, and how other people treat us is a reflection of them. So being mindful of how do I want to show up in these situations is going to be really helpful. But that doesn't mean that there aren't times where it is more healthy to disengage or distance, depending on what's going on, right? So if we are dealing with somebody who's set on misunderstanding, who's set on being correct, who isn't willing to hear us, it might be worth saying that topic, that conversation, I can't go to with you because we're both not able to show up to it, right? Or vice versa, if we can't show up to that conversation open enough to try and understand, not agree, understand, it might not be in our best interest to go there. If it starts off like, oh, I feel like this is going well, but it escalates, emotions get high now, we just kind of lost it, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's being respectful, nobody's being kind. What that does is it damages the relationship more long term, and that isn't helpful to anybody. And
Yeah.
at that case, it's really helpful to take a break. Pause, step back, come back to it in 20 minutes, come back to it at another time.
Yeah.
Don't come back to it at all. Just agree that this is a topic we can't go to, but taking a break in high emotional situations and conflicts, I highly recommend across the board.
All right. Well, definitely some good advice, some great tips. As always, thank you so much, Alexandra, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Good luck at the family get together.
Yes, I think we all need it for sure. All right. For more information, you can find The Mad Therapy on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll also have all those details posted on ourquadcities.com.